Thank you so much, Deep. Thank you. Taking from there, and I completely comprehend to the last part that you articulated on the cost optimization, because yes, one really needs to plan it, because the way you see the journey and the workloads increasing with size, and the cost is going up as the pay-as-you-go model that we've been discussing. Uh, Ajay sir, I just want to know from you, if you could just share as some of your challenges that you come across or you would have come across while we are talking about cloud transformation or taking an environment to environment which is into cloud from on-prem. So what is that one should take care of? Because I know when we talk about migration, there are complex workloads, there are integration challenges, there are applications which may work in cloud, which may not work in cloud. How does one plan this and take it forward? So if you could just share some of your experience, it would be great.
Yeah. So for any cloud transformation, first we need to define the proper cloud your strategy. So you have to you must have a study plan layout of your complete action so that you can articulate your choices, your approach on which the complete migration or complete transformation will be happen. So suppose if I'll go through any application landscape which is designed for you can say travel kind of organization. So for that, the maximum workload or maximum utilization happens into the particular season, on holiday seasons. So rest of the time, whatever the investment you have done, that is wastage. So we can optimize it by migrating them over a cloud, transforming their workloads over cloud. And there are several ways. Like if platform, if that platform is just like a commodity, we can just migrate using a lift and shift concept over a cloud. So and if some applications are not cloud ready, if I'm talking about some AI or analytics based application sets where we need to do a certain re-architect work or some re-platforming is required. So you must be involved, your resources who are capable to do the job, and then we have to define the different strategies based on the available options for that kind of migrations. Another option is there for rehiring the providers. Like suppose if you are using some providers and their services are not good, you can and your application are cloud native, you can migrate it to anyone without any issue. And different options are available. We are also having certain practices where we can migrate multi-cloud services to this. Along with this, we have to understand about the cost optimization part. So as they have said, like pay-as-you-go model is there and different models are there where we have to explore. So cost optimizing one part where we can think about under our cloud strategies to control the cost. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to move here and there. Sure. So ultimately, cost economical services will be there and and easily accessible. So that's all. And scalability and availability of data is another aspect which should be covered under strategies part.
Sure, thanks. Thank you so much. Alok, if you could help us understand on the take for hybrid architecture vis-a-vis distributed architectures for such cloud-led transformation. So what is your view that one should be looking into or taking things into consideration?
So that view differs from what kind of an organization you are. So for example, a mid-size organization versus a large-size organization or a small-size organization, their take could be different, which way they want to go, right? Secondly, what problem they want to solve for. That is also, has a contribution to this approach. Now, if you take, for example, large enterprises, right? So most large enterprises, I have seen working with customers both in India as well as outside of India, they take a platform approach, okay? Because why they need to take a platform approach is because a diverse range of technologies, a diverse range of business functions and a diverse range of people need to have access to that resource. So you need a platform approach, right? That platform should be autonomous, but also should be easily integrable, right? So for example, if you're an organization and you want to integrate your business partners so that you can exchange data with them, then you again need a platform approach. So when you have that kind of an approach, typically you look at 3 tiers, right? You look at how the digital core is going to look like, how is the edge going to look like, and how your applications and data is going to use that infrastructure. And then you layer in the KPIs, the governance, the metrics around that. And each one will have its own attributes. Now that's for large organizations. If you're a medium-sized organizations, you may not have the same level of complexity. But if you're talking about organizations in digital age, you want a lot of flexibility, right? Flexibility to serve demand, or flexibility to create new services, to create innovation. So again, what you need is to be able to interact with different technologies. Like for example, if let's say you are a hiring company, right? You provide executive search. You need to be able to talk to different platforms from where you can actually gather information about both sides, right? What is my supply side? Like what is the pool of talent that is available? How do I get access to that? On the demand side, what kind of jobs people are having and how do you match them? So again, it's a small enterprise which is trying to disrupt an existing industry, but it needs to do this in a way, because otherwise they cannot compete with the established names. So again, different people, different answers, but I think flexibility, agility, speed, ability to make decisions quickly, they are all important factors about how you will go and what kind of strategy you will adopt.
So in continuation to what you just mentioned, so when we today look at, we do know that people are moving towards hybrid architectures, on-prem cloud, but how do you see the multi-cloud tenant model in the same market? How's the adoption scale? Are the people who have?
It is a reality. I mean, I will give you a very Equinix example, because we work with thousands of cloud providers, right? And what we see is in our data centers, people are connecting to at least 2 clouds. Okay. Globally, right? We have 200 plus data centers, at least 2 clouds. Many, like I was really surprised, an automotive part maker, just think about that. An automotive part maker connects to 500 unique different organizations. Just imagine, right? So many of them would be cloud. So multi-cloud is a reality for many reasons, and I don't want to go into the reasons of why. Everyone their own. But as an organization, you need to have the ability to have the choice of putting your workloads and your data wherever you want, and to be able to access them whenever you want. And whoever wants to access it, whether it is your own employees or your business partners, they should be able to access it without breaking your business logic, without breaking your application. That is really the key.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Mr. Ankur, I just have one question for you. What changes you see in the data center consumption when we talk about adoption of digital transformation that we see in the era? So how do you see the data center consumption model that's going around with the adoption that we see?
I actually don't see much differences in how data centers would look like in the future. Rather, how they would be accessed, how they would be utilized would be something different. Let's face it, the challenge right now is not to make sure that the data centers remain in practice. They would. The challenge is how we can make sure that new technologies can keep using these data centers to the fullest. Let me give you an example, and it is a tricky one. I hope it's not taken otherwise, but I started working in government around in 2005 when I did a project for Wipro, which was a state data center project. And it was a huge, humongous project. 120 crore was spent into that project by a state government. And subsequently, all 30 state governments in the country went ahead and implemented those data centers. And let me be very honest, If one of those data centers walks up and says, I've been used 80% or 70% or 60% of my capacity since I've been incorporated, I'll be extremely proud of them. The point here is that you already have them. It's time now you start using them in a proper manner. Uh, Cloud is such a democratic technology that it makes sure that now those data centers can be put to good use. You can start utilizing them. You can start, actually benefiting out of them. So I think the future for data centers is going to be extremely good. You'll have more data centers opening, but how they get utilized is something which is going to be very, very interesting to see.
Something that we'll...
Something as we go along. Right now we're talking about cloud, maybe 2 years down the line we're thinking about something else which would enable us to use that, because that's the core. Just one more last point on this is that we're talking about data now getting created on edge.
Correct.
This is one thing which the data centers operators should be really fearful about, that the moment data start getting created on edge, how do I place my data center, the huge infrastructure, into the gamut of that thing? Because then the processing is also expected to happen on edge. And most of our devices are getting extremely powerful now. If you can, I was seeing a video, I think almost all of you have seen that, how the desk has shrunk into a mobile phone, the 80s desk, how it used to look like versus how it looks like now. So the moot point is that that's something which is the interesting area to look into. The data on the edge, how do we capture it? How do we process it? Where does the whole big data centers go into, So
a new era for all of us to experience.
That's a new way, yes.
Nagendra, I have one last question for you. How the market currently perceiving the integrated solutions when we talk about, and which are the 3 drivers you think will give a push to the adoption in the digital world?
Yes. So basically, if you look at integrated solutions, the biggest problem is can we scale that? Okay. So if you look at the solutions which are using cloud, okay, certain amount of cloud, and certain amount of compute on-prem or multi-cloud, whatever it is. So the key problem with any integrated solution is, can you make sure your code base doesn't change? Like for example, if you develop a software, right, you integrate all the support like on-prem, cloud, everything, but you don't have any control over the cloud services that is offered by your provider. That can be changed. Okay, so the integrated solution is that you have to be compatible with so many services across different clouds to make sure that it is scalable. The solution itself is scalable. See, for the reason why the scalability problem comes is you have a different customers or you have a different vendor. Okay, so all those things has to be compatible. So compute virtualization is more or less standardized. Okay, you write an application, it can run on cloud, or we can make it containerized. Okay, so that is a better way than launching a VM. Or you have to make sure that it is compatible with Ajai Rai service, which is equivalent to AWS service. Like for example, you take database. Your application, you have made an integrated solution, which is compatible with most of the cloud vendors. But the problem is now the databases behave differently. That's a physical thing. True. Right? So that is a challenge we have. Then what happens is, if you want to build an integrated solution, you have to make sure that your code base accommodates this. It has to be compile time compatible. We have faced this issue. We have faced this practical issue where what runs on Azure may not run on AWS because databases are different. Correct. Okay, and there are certain features that AWS doesn't support. Like if you're using MongoDB, the security features are different in different cloud. Okay, so that is where we face a lot of issue with the integrated solution. Okay, but still it's an evolving field. Maybe in future we can have every services from all the cloud vendor can be virtualized. If the services can be virtualized, then integrated solution will be massively scalable.
I agree to this. Thank you so very much. That was all from this particular panel. If you have any questions, please feel free. More than happy. So we'll take this question answers for next 5 minutes.
Thanks for this subject to be on this dais. My question is this data center and cloud solution is emerging business. And emerging business, when you then there is a, require together we have to attack on other industry to convey our solution cloud. So I'm asking this question whether our industries require some kind of association where our quorum will be, connect to other industry, example to jewelry industry or other industry who has their supply chain for the, cloud CRM, cloud surveillance, cloud data analytics. So telematics solution, either it's a part of companies, corporates or government actually. So, so it's a together approach about this innovative practice towards transforming the cloud. I'm asking this question because, I have experience to handle 3 billions of voice minutes to cloud. Also, we are the first company in the world to offer the lifetime cloud video storage as well as telematics data. So I see that there is a requirement of the collective approach. So do you think such kind of needs requirement so we can immediately start the pushing the business?
So your question is, do we see that different industries will interact with each other in this age? Yes, that's true. I mean, there are many examples, and it is happening everywhere, right? I mean, the biggest example that we see in our data centers is, right, you see, for us, network providers is an industry. Cloud providers is an industry in itself. Financial services is an industry in itself. Within financial services, there are so many sub-industries, right? There is trading, there is banking, there is payment, there is, industrial, automotive. Absolutely, this is happening. This is happening today. Now, the context in which it is happening can be unique to the industry and to the market in which the industry operates. So, based on that, then you build solutions that are serving the needs. But yes, that's happening. It's a reality today.
Yeah, so my question was there, we have collective, actually, example, there is data center, somebody is the application service provider. So we approach the other industry chambers where we want to do something pilot based, so then once a successful model will be applicable by other industry, same player actually. So such kind of collective approach is, required. So such kind of for quorum we can make it and do that.
And that's why we have organizations like ASSOCHAM. Yes. That bring diverse industries together in sessions and forums like this.
Here you cannot find the other, other than technically industry player actually, they can understand importance. So I'm just asking.
I get where you're coming from. So see, basically the way we are looking at various, if we look at some of the enterprise architecture story, right? So what is happening in the enterprise architecture where a ministry or a department is thinking that I need to bring all the applications that can work into this environment. How do I have it, develop them on open source codes? So it's a ministry-driven objective, but yes, what you brought it out that in case if there are industries who can come together and have a bank kind of an approach where you have all these solutions available so one can pick it up. Good thought. Thank you so much. Any other question from anyone else?
Hello, good evening. Sir, Mr. Ankurji, it is written head government relations. Government relations meaning? Meaning I could not understand actually.
So I make sure that the government hurts us as less as possible. That's what I do. Hurt it would. They would make my life miserable. So they pay me money to take the burnt of the plane. So I have high BP. My boss doesn't have high BP. So that's my job. So that's government relations.
And second question is, data center means having data. Data of the public or the industry or any organization. So we read in the newspaper that the data is leaked, either through banks, of customers, of industries. So how we can control or manage, because privacy of the data is important.
True.
Of any individual, of any organization, within India, within abroad, likewise. Thank you.
What we do? Yeah, Nagendra, you can go ahead.
So see, data privacy, there are laws, okay? There is GDPR is there, and there is a laws which Indian government has come up, right? So anybody takes your data is abided by that. They cannot leak the data, okay? So that is the first thing. Willful leakage of data is not permitted under the law. The second thing is if there is a security breach, somebody, so there is a thief there's a hacker who just breaks the security and takes away data. That's a technology problem. So one is a compliance problem, which any of your cloud provider or data center provider has to comply. And the second is a technology issue, Okay, so you need to that is like the technology provider or the infrastructure provider has to implement the best technology possible, and they have to employ a lot of these ethical hackers, make sure that everything is safe. Okay, so both of this is happening in the industry, and that is how we are preventing data security breach and other things.
I think all the data leak through means this SIM card, SIM. Is it related to SIM also, mobile SIM likewise?
Anywhere you have data,
So many
these
SIMs are.
there are two things they have to follow: technology-based security and compliance. Okay, most of the players are following that. Anything that happens is because of the malware, the virus, or maybe the security breaches, which is technologically more superior. Otherwise, most of the player has to comply with the standards we have, even in India and abroad. And the technology what we are providing is not easy to break.
So the technology we are purchasing, or we are designing, the technology is being purchased, procured from abroad, imported technology, or we are making in India? Technology we are talking about.
So technology can be developed, technology can be procured. So it depends. If innovation has been done or innovation has been done by certain organization on that particular concept and it's their patent, that can be procured. Otherwise, you can develop it because it is easily available. If encryption is there, encryption is concept, but on encryption, how can you encrypt the data on the motion, on the rest? It's your proprietary tool. You can develop it. But yes, right now at this moment, most of the products which are installed into the data centers or any hyperscalers are capable to do this. Whether we are talking about the storage platform, we are talking about object storage, security products, anything. So data can be encrypted on the motion as well as on rest.
If we are dependent on abroad, so they can put a clause. But if we are manufacturing or inventing in India, then it is a sole proprietorship.
Sorry, unable to hear you.
If in case we procure the technology from abroad, so the foreigners can put a clause into it. There is some zigzag. But if we are developing in India, the government would be having a full control. Thank you.
So Make in India aspect is there. Okay, under Make in India, many of organizations are there. See, technology is not a small thing. It is a very big area where many organizations are working. Someone is working into data center, someone is working into services, someone is working onto software part. So by that way, if someone is working on into the encryption technology, and doesn't matter whether they are outside or India, we are just using their product, but yes, your data is lying as per the compliance guideline into India only. In 2019, the bill was, I think, proposed for the data localization. So your data will be India only. And most of the data center provider or hyperscaler are now following it.
How can we say it is emerging technology? Since 22 years before, SIFI Technologies put that data center in Vashi railway station, correct? As we hear in the previous session. So how it can be emerging? It is already emerged. And how long will it take to emerge?
I think we are time for this session.
I'm
so
sorry, I'll have to come
we can
in
take
here
it up
because
later
the
on.
session, we've exceeded the time limit. Please go ahead.
Thank you so very much for this session. Thank you, everyone. It was a real right session to have you. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, with that we conclude the session on reinventing the business-defining strategies for successful cloud-led transformation for